What? No theme music, nah?
Gusto, now Chris the host. Man, I make a little dinner whilst busting joke. Come to the yard, get it off your chest. There's no hard feelings when you're rocking with the best. Everything's crisp, everything's nice. Throw a little sugar, add a little spice. Ask all questions, cook a little rice. Gamble like Vegas and throw a little dice.
Raise a glass and make a toast. Drop by Chris for a Sunday roast. Or 8 days of his mixology. Get twisted and not off the Hennessy. Now your belly's full, play a game of ball. Gusto, he's coming from the old school. No if buts, maybes, whys. No silly questions, I tell no lies.
Everything Chris. Everything Chris. Everything Chris. Everything Chris. Everything Chris. Everything Chris. Everything Chris.
Live talks with Leicester's head coach, Rob Paternostro, the winning one. Are you ready for this, people? 1, 2, 3. All right. First guest was amazing. Got the next one coming on. Ready for this one. Waiting for him to yeah. Ooh, Adria, rebound. What's going on? Everyone else who joined in. Hey, RP.
What's happening?
How you doing, man? You good?
Yeah, I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
Oh man, thanks for coming on, man. How you been?
Yeah, it's been okay, hanging in there. It's been tricky times, obviously, but itching to get going again. Definitely itching to get going again.
Oh, definitely, man. I can't wait to come back out to the games again, man. So itching myself to do other things as well, not just come to games, help out with games. So definitely. How you been dealing with the quarantine, the lockdown, and how you've adapted to that?
Yeah, I just had a newborn baby, my wife and I. Alessandro was born only a few months ago. Thank you. So, thank you. So it was. I have a 4-year-old as well, and a 17-year-old here. So we're busy. We're quarantine busy. We go from physics to phonics in here. It's all over the shop. So it's fun. It's been a good bonding time for all of us.
I get that, man. You could teach me some stuff. I've got a 14-year-old, man. 14-year-old girl.
Yeah, you know.
he's constantly on. They keep you on your toes. You're like, man. You gotta keep prepared, man. Oh, man, that's good though, man. It's good to see you doing well. Just getting into it, man. Like, where is it you grew up then, man? You know what I mean?
Yeah, Connecticut. I grew up in Waterbury, Connecticut, which is about an hour and a half from New York City. And my parents and my dad was an Italian immigrant that came over, and it was a city that was filled with a lot of Italians, a lot of different types of people. That was where it all started for me. It was a great time to grow up. It was the 80s, before technology took over. So sports was, a way to get out of the house and a way to do something. And for me, I jumped at that right away.
Yeah. What I see you was into quite a lot of sports in your time: soccer, basketball, and baseball.
Yes, I was. That's all I wanted to do every day. And it wasn't so much that I was training in any way for it. I was playing every day, and I moved from one sport to the other all the time. So I was always competing. It was not many. One season would end, and I would go compete in the next season.
Yeah.
So I just thought it was a wonderful way to grow up athletically, to just play as much as you can and learn as many skills that you can learn that would cross over into each sport.
Definitely. Were you trying to become the next Deion Sanders? Is it Deion Sanders?
Dion, no, man, I didn't have Dion speed. I had some speed, but not Dion speed. That's a whole
Okay.
different speed. For people who haven't seen Dion, go Google him. He
Yeah,
was something
Google
else.
him, man. Oh, baseball
Dion, yeah,
and football.
yeah,
Oh
at the
man.
same time. Amazing at the same time. And
Yeah.
yeah, I think that I've spoken a lot about that over the years, about playing as much different sports as you can,
It's
especially
good.
early. Parents ask all the time, like, what do you think? And I just think it's good to branch out and meet different people too. That's the other part of it, is that,
Networking.
you're meeting different people, different social classes, people with different interests. So, for me, playing three sports at high school, especially, it was interacting with so many different types of people all the time, and I thought that it was just a wonderful way to get better in sports and life.
Yeah, definitely. I agree with that. I think sports does a lot for you. It gives you a lot of life skills you can take and transfer into so much into the world. So I definitely agree with that. So what is it
Yeah,
that made you stick to basketball? So what
yeah,
made you get into basketball and what made you fall in love with the game?
yeah. I love the game from an early age, but I think with my size, like, now I'm tall. When I was younger, I was small. I mean, I'm 5'10" now, and when I was younger, I was really small. And I think people were, pointing me towards the baseball route for university, and I was getting a lot of interest, baseball as well. But when basketball came in my senior year, the full ride was huge. Baseball, a lot of partial scholarships. They got so many players on the team. So for university, they kind of break it up. But for basketball, I knew when I signed that piece of paper that I was going to be able to go to school for free to get the degree. So that really made my choice. But when I was in college playing basketball, I would play baseball in the summer a lot still, because that was my first love. My dad was a baseball player, and so I still stayed with it. But when I went to college, that was really what, university, that was really what made me decide. And it was free ride, let's go. I'll sign that piece of paper and get that degree.
Definitely. How was that whole 4 years of university, man? How did that go for you?
It was awesome. Yeah, I went to a Division II school, which was great.
Hampshire College, right?
Yeah, New Hampshire College. There's Southern New Hampshire University now. They've changed the name. But
Oh,
yeah, so I went to that. I had a real close family friend who had played there, so I knew about the program. And what excited me about it was that they won a lot. I was being recruited by some Division I teams, but the majority of the teams at that time were losing a lot. And I just wasn't the kind of person that wanted to go to a program that was going to finish 8-25, no matter if it was D1 or
no.
not. So, going to New Hampshire College, Southern New Hampshire University, the winning was what it was all about. I think we won 107 games and 24 losses in 4 years. So it was a rewarding experience. And anybody that's played college basketball will tell you, when you're winning, everything's better. The coaches say hello to you when you walk by them on the way to the gym. When you're losing, it's
They
a
don't want to
whole
know
different
you.
it's a whole different story. So for me, I wanted to win, and fortunately for us, we went to 3 Elite Eights, 2 Final Fours, and it was fun. It was the greatest time of my life, because winning like that, there's nothing like it.
Oh man, I could imagine, and that's something you've taken. I've seen you taking it forever, so into your career now as a coach. So, is that something is that one of the main things you say you've learned and helped you being a coach? Because I've seen that you're winning as well as a coach.
Yeah, I think so. I think growing up, I played on a lot of winning teams too, and I think you really get a good feel for what it takes to have a group to come together. You need talent first off. If you could be the best coach in the world, best leader in the world, but if you don't have the talent, then it's going to be hard. But when you have the talent, I had played on teams, a lot of talent, and it just followed me for a lot of my career in all sports. And there's nothing like it. And I think what you get is you start hating to lose so much. When you win
Yeah,
like that, those losses hurt so much. And I think that's what really drives me as a player and as a coach, is I hate to lose.
yeah.
It's just, I know everybody probably say that, but it was something that really, really hurt me inside. And I think that really pushes you to do the extra work and to
Definitely.
try to compete as best you can, right?
Yeah, definitely. Talking of hating to lose, I'll briefly touch on this period of time. We'll come back to it. And your time at Birmingham Panthers, because that was a bad season. Because I remember you played with Laken that season as well, and I think Williams is there as well. Talking of that losing, how was that? How did you just deal with that season on the mental side? Because you know it's not the same as what you're used to.
Yeah, those rah-rah speeches weren't working that year. I'll tell you that. It was a tough situation for us there, right? So when we first got there, I think we were 3-1 to start the season, maybe 2-1, and then we lost 3 players, 3 of our imports for whatever reason. And all of a sudden, it was a whole different team. And yeah, it was tough because the losing was brutal. But I do think that when you do lose, and I have been on a couple losing teams in my career, you learn what not to do, which is a lot of times almost as powerful as learning what to do. So there was plenty of times where I would be, and that season was tough. I played for Nigel that year, as a matter of fact, Nigel Lloyd, and he was great. He was great to play for. Just the talent, it was just young players in a league like that. It was just almost impossible to compete. But you just learn, how you want to build the organization if you had one. So losing can be powerful as well and really affect your career in the future.
It can be one of those make or break situations. Really, if you lose, it can give you that motivation to do better. So
it was Laken's fault. Tell him it was his fault. I love Laken. Laken's the best. I love that guy.
I'll let him know, man.
Right.
So talking of that, so we'll go back now. So talk to us about your journey from college and your journey coming in to the UK just before you got to the UK. What was that journey like just before you got to the UK?
Fault. I don't know if you lost me. Yeah. Journey coming out of college, you mean? I played in the USBL when I finished. I think that was my first experience, which was cool. It was a league that was in the summer in the 90s and in the 80s, in the late 80s, early 90s, I believe, before they had those NBA summer leagues so much. So it was a lot of different players playing in it. I thought that was a rewarding experience. And then I bounced around for a while. I played in like 6 or 7 different countries. Moved around quite a bit, had good life experiences. I tell people all the time, like when I left in 95, 96, around that time, it wasn't so much, the internet wasn't really there yet. You didn't really have a phone. So you really arrived in these lands that you didn't speak the language. And it was just like, here you go, like good luck.
You're on your own.
It was tough. It was a real eye opener for you, and you had to really learn a lot about yourself. Like you just on your own with your own thoughts, and so being an overseas player back then was a lot different than it is now. Now you can stay connected with anyone, watch anything you want. Back then, I can remember being on teams where we would wait for the VHS tapes to come so we could watch the NBA game that was 3 weeks ago. As a group, you'd get together and you'd watch them, and it was totally different. So I moved around a lot, and then I stopped playing basketball in 1998. It was the last season, actually, sorry, 99, and I went to work for ESPN. So I went to work at ESPN for a year. I worked at ESPN for a year in between my time coming back to basketball, which eventually would be England. So in that time period, I was in television working on the NBA Tonight, which was also a phenomenal experience for my future. And it was pretty good.
I was going to touch on that. Talk us through that whole experience, man, with ESPN and, working with NBA, some of the NBA broadcasters and all that. How was that whole experience?
Intense. Working at ESPN was intense.
Oh, really?
It started out with the interview. I remember in the interview, it was like an interview like no other. It was who was the best pitcher in the American League West this year, and why do you think so? Who's got the best? Who's got the best special teams in the NFL, and why do you think so? All that kind of stuff. They throw it at you, and you have to have that knowledge of sport. And then you get in there, and it's television, so you have to really learn a lot about television. But for me, fortunately, they recognized my basketball background and gave me an opportunity to work on the NBA Tonight that year. And it was 6 of us, and we worked on the NBA Tonight. We watched NBA games, and we cut the highlights. We do features. A lot of times they would sit me with either the pro player that was on the show that night or the coach, and they would sit me with him and we'd watch a game and we'd break it down and we'd go, okay, this is what we want to show. So I'd go back to the editing room, bring it back in, and it was really my first opportunity to break down video with legendary coaches and players. You know, so it was an incredible experience. But as my time grew to a close there, you know, I was thinking more about coming back for basketball. I was still only 28, 29. I felt like I had a lot left in the tank. And and I made a phone. Somebody called me and said, would you be interested in Birmingham Bullets? And I didn't know much about them. And I called a friend of mine who had played in the league, Terrell Myers, great player, played for Sheffield, one of the better players from near where I'm from. And he told me, he said, I think you'll love it, Rob. I think the league will suit you. And that was it. I told ESPN I was going back to play basketball, and the rest is history. I've been in England now ever since the year 2000.
So that's a good, to 10 years or so. 20 years or so. Yeah.
20 years. Yeah, 20 years.
So what kind of people did you work with at the Tonight Show?
Say again?
What people did you work with at the Tonight Show? What players?
I was working with Fred Carter at the time, and he was an NBA coach for a long time, and he was an NBA player for a long time, and he was pretty much there most of the time. But I worked with a lot of different guys. Jim O'Brien, who was the coach of the Celtics at the time. I remember Ed Pickney, who used to play in the NBA for a long time. He came in. I worked with David Aldridge a lot, who's an insider. Yeah, he was on our show as well. So and some of the guys that were on that show have gone on to do some really big things, behind the scenes. So yeah, I learned so much about basketball with those guys, but also television, which is it's a crazy job. It's live television. You have to be able to perform under pressure in those situations because you have about 15 minutes to cut the video, to write what they have to say. So yeah, pressure packed. But
you got to know your stuff as well, isn't it?
Sure,
that's why they give you that as well and all that.
That's why they give you that interview early. They weed out the people who don't know in sports.
So when you came back to the UK, I see you made a little impact coming back to the UK. Led the BBL in assist in 2002 and 2004 twice. And how was the first 6 years of the UK? How did you find adapting to the UK and the whole UK culture on and off the court?
Yeah, I didn't know too much about UK culture, to be honest with you. I mean, what you saw on TV in the US when I was growing up was the royal family, and the punk style haircuts, and that's all I really knew. I didn't really know much about it, seriously. And so when I arrived in Birmingham, it was a real eye opener. It was different than what I could imagine. I loved it right from the start. I mean, the first night that we arrived, there was three of us that got off the plane, Americans, and actually I think four of us, and our houses weren't ready yet. So for the weekend, we were going to stay in a hotel, and the hotel was on Broad Street. And Broad Street in 2000 on a weekend was fairly lively. So welcome to the UK, right? So we looked at each other and we were like, this has a chance to be pretty good time here. And then I fell in love with it right away. I really enjoyed playing in the league. I think when you look back at the league at that time, it was a game every Saturday night live on Sky Sports. There were so many great coaches, personalities in the league, so much great talent in the league. And it was fun. You could speak English to everybody. And for me, that was wonderful. And I really enjoyed my time at Birmingham. I made lifelong friends there. And I enjoyed playing for those fans. Those fans were great fans, which is disappointing now that they don't have a team. It was a fun place to play.
What were the fans like though at that time, Birmingham Bullet fans? What were they like compared to Leicester fans now?
Well, I mean, it's similar, I would say. Yeah, there's a lot of diehard fans, a lot of fans that would really help the club in any way possible. But we used to play in the old Aston Villa Event Center, which 4 sides, and it held about 2,500, 3,000, and we get some good crowds in there. And it was exciting playing there and playing all the great players in the league and the great coach. When you look back at the coaches in the league at that time, You look at Nick Nurse, Chris Finch,
Kevin Cable.
Bob Donwell. Kevin had retired at that point.
Okay.
Yeah, he had retired at that point, but he was doing the TV. But you're looking at a lot of personalities in the league, and then the players were super talented. It was a fun league to play in, and we had the opportunity with Birmingham to end up going into Europe my second season. So we played in a European competition, which also is something that was phenomenal. Enjoyed that.
How was it good? How was that competing in Europe, man?
Awesome.
At the time.
Yeah. Awesome. We did very well. We qualified for the second round out of the group stages. We played some good teams. We beat some teams from Belgium and Sweden and Poland and Lithuania, Latvia. We traveled so much. But the one thing about that season for us was I think we played close to 65 games that season, 65, 70 games.
Wow,
because it was crazy. Because in October, during the BBL season, we went to America for 15 days and played 9 games in 15 days in America against universities. The pro Birmingham team. They paid us to do it. Yeah. It was something that we worked. So we played at University of Florida, Mississippi State. We traveled all around the country on a bus and played. It was great, but by the end of the season, we felt it because all those games and playing throughout Europe and everything added up. But it was an experience of a lifetime, no doubt.
That's good, man. That's good. Which hopefully we could get back to that. You know what I mean? Competing in Europe again. Definitely we get back to that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we tried with the riders, and for us as a team, it was awesome too. I mean, we came up short, and we know what we need budget wise, and that's what the league needs, and possibly London soon with what they're talking about having down there.
Definitely. So fast forward after that, you went. What got you into the coaching? So after your playing career, what was it that led you to coaching? Was it something you was thinking about couple years before you got into it, or was it something that came up afterwards, or a little rest? Or
yeah, I had thought about it. My college coach, Stan Spiro, the legendary Stan Spiro, used to always tell me he thought that there was something I should look to do. But at that time, actually, I was teaching at a school in Birmingham. So I was teaching. So when I got the message from the writers to come up and if I was interested in an interview, I did. I went up, but I kept my teaching job that first season. So going into there, I had a teaching job in Birmingham and I was coaching in Leicester. So it was it was challenging. It was challenging.
How did you manage that?
Yeah, you just do it, like it sounds tough at times and stuff, but like everything, it sounds a lot harder than it was. You get out of work at school and you race up to Leicester and you coach and you go back home and you do it again the next day. It was challenging, but I'm so glad that I did do it. I wanted to make sure I had the teaching there still in case the coaching, wasn't. Yeah, so I tried to keep both avenues open for me. So it was definitely a challenging year because of that, but amazing experience as well.
Definitely. And when did you realize, all right, this is something I want to do fully now? When did you leave the teaching and just fully focus on Leicester?
After the first season, the first season we finished third, which was the highest they had ever finished in their history. We got to the Final Four. We got the Coach of the Year. So I guess it was the time where you're going, let's see where this can go. And I had spoken to the Rives about moving up here, and they made it very easy for me. And that's when I think that's when I said to myself, let's really make a go for it. And I loved Leicester right from the start. The fans were awesome, and living up here was awesome right from the start too.
How did you find moving to Leicester? Because there's not much difference between. Did you think there was much difference between Leicester and Birmingham in terms of moving?
Yeah, I think Birmingham was different. I thought Birmingham was a little livelier, I would say. I think I was heading into at the age of 36 or so. I think I was heading into the quieter phase of my life. So it actually worked out pretty well for me to come up here. And I like I said right from the start, I loved living in Leicester, and where we live, you can be in the country in 10 minutes and in the city in 10 minutes. So the combination of both off the court was great for me. Definitely.
And I can see got your resume here. 13 trophies. Four league titles, 2 cup titles, 3 trophy titles, 4 playoff titles, and you've done a three-peat as well in the playoffs as well, and 5-time Coach of the Year. So that's a big congrats on all of those. FIBA Europe Cup as well. How have you managed? What is it that's motivated you to keep being so consistent in terms of winning so much?
Yeah, I have a short memory, really. Like, I'm not really hung up on what we did last season.
Yeah,
You know, I'm ready to go. You know, it's tough because when I first arrived at the Riders, you know, they had a lot of lean years. So, I mean, it was a good time to come in, right? Because, you know, we would lose close games in the first year and people would shake my hand after the game. Hey, good try. Nice game. Wow, you guys are tough. But now, as we got going here, sometimes the wins are like, well, I don't know about that win. So
yeah.
it's kind of flipped. So you have to have kind of a short memory about it. And I hate to lose. I think that you know, I never want to go into a game thinking, wow, I didn't do enough. I didn't prepare enough. I'm not ready for this. I don't want to go into a summer and say I didn't recruit hard enough. I didn't, you know, I'm motivated to not have that losing feeling. And, you know, it's with me all the time. I just have to keep going. And I love what I do. And I think that in a time like this, you really get I really realized how much I love the game. I miss it so much.
Yeah.
And I miss being around the guys. I think that's what I miss the most. I've been fortunate enough for the most part of my life to be on a team. And when it's taken away and you don't have that every day, I think that you really appreciate it. And I don't ever want to, you know, do anything but my best because I appreciate the position that I'm in.
Definitely. And I've also seen over the years with Leicester, since you've been there, definitely as well, how well disciplined the team is around you. I've always said this. Leicester Riders are very similar to Spurs in the way they play. It's like a very team-oriented team, and like no huge superstars there. It's like everyone's a solid player, and they play well as a team. And this is like they're always a threat everywhere they go. What do you think the reason behind them being so disciplined? Is it your coaching as well as your coaching?
Well, look, thanks for the comment. The Spurs, ooh, I'll take that. That's a nice one because what an organization that has been. And thank you. I've certainly watched a lot of what they do, the Spurs too. I used to, you know, a lot of their video stuff, amazing. But first and foremost, you got to have great players. You have to have great players, and then you have to have smart players. And I think that you know, when I talk to a lot of the basketball players coming up, you better be an intelligent player. If you're not an intelligent player, you'll get found out fast, no matter what your numbers say. And I think that there's plenty of times where you could look at numbers in a league and you go, oh, 20 a game. I mean, we're looking at a guy the other day, 20 a game. Then we started to watch, then we started to ask questions, and then we realized that, yeah, you know, he's not going to be smart enough or intelligent enough to make plays when we need to make the plays. So you got to have intelligent players. We try to find as many intelligent players as we can. And then I think that, you know, we get a lot of players together so they can compete each day in practice. And I think the practices throughout the years here have been, you know, what has made our program stand out, I believe, because we go at it every day in practice. And I'm a big believer in playing in practice. I believe that, you know, you can do a lot of the drills, do a lot of the walkthroughs. You got to know your plays. You got to know this, you got to know that. But if you're not playing and competing every day and have that fire to compete and go at your teammates and make them better, then, you know, when you get to the O2 Arena in May, you're not going to be ready. And I think that the practices and playing, and it's not like, you know, not scientific by any means. It's getting these guys together and getting them out there playing and holding everybody accountable. You know, we got to hold everybody accountable. If you make a mistake, you got to hold your hand up. And I make a mistake, and I tell my guys all the time, that's my fault. Watch the video, that's my fault. But we have to be able to admit when we make those mistakes and correct them. And for us, you know, having the talent, but combined with the intelligence has been a huge factor for us. And
I remember talking to the O2. I remember one of your the last playoff win you had against the Royals. On paper, Royals did look better than Leicester, but you lot still came out with the win. And like,
Whose paper?
huh?
Whose paper?
On the paper.
Whose paper?
Maybe mine.
All right.
because I was obviously I had a lot of people that I knew on that team as well. But they did look good on paper. Like,
no, they were a good team. I'm just joking with you. They were really good. Yeah, I thought we played well on that day. And those one-off games, you got to be
what was
ready
your
to
mindset
go.
going into that game?
We felt good. I thought that, you know, and you said something before about maybe we don't have the star players and all that.
Yeah.
And, you know, we do have the star players, but maybe their numbers don't equate with what a star player does. And I think when you watch those big games at the finals and in trophies and all that, I think you see that we have those players that step up on the big day,
definitely.
you know. And then the defense has been the key for us. I think when you look back on the history of the league, I think we have 4 of the top 10 lowest points per games in history. I think the defensive end of the floor is where you get it done with preparation. And I think we're going into those O2 Arena games. You know, I can remember last year we were sitting in the hotel. You could see the O2 Arena from the hotel. We had a meeting after the game. And I remember going over all London stuff, the Royal stuff, and the guys. I didn't even have to. They could recite what their play was. What's number 2? What's 3? What's C? What's this? What's that? And you know, when you have a group that buys in like that, then you get to that game and you feel very good. And you know, we felt really good going into that game because of that. And
also, you had that experience as well, so that's what helped even more as well. So, and your MVP of that game, who was the MVP? I can't remember.
Timmy Williams.
Oh man, it was so simple and effective. It was so brilliant to watch. It was just like you lot didn't make mistakes. If you did make a mistake, you knew how to rectify it straight away. So,
well, Timmy Williams was a heck of a player. I think that you know, he went to Switzerland last year, and you know, who knows where he's going next year. But he was phenomenal to play, and on that day he was awesome. A good, cool customer. I think it's important in those games to stay calm, stay cool. And you get that by battling every day in practice. You go through it. You know, we have practices at times where we got guys ready to go, right? I mean, ready. You know, it happens, and you pull them apart. You don't want that every day, but you want the mindset that, you know, I'm ready to battle no matter who's in front of me, whenever. And when they battle tested like that, by the end of the season, you know, you should be able to perform at the highest level.
And that's what I saw that day as well, definitely. And obviously, like you said, again, you mentioned again, it's not just about being good, you got to be intelligent as well. And that's one thing I learned from my brother when he said he was playing pro. I think he said there was a guy who was just, they said at the beginning of the trials, they knew he wasn't going to make a team just because he just did a certain thing. He was a great player, he could score, but he just did certain things. And he said he looked at the time when Junior Winners was playing still.
Yeah.
And him and Junior looked at each other and said, yeah, he's not making it. Like, I was like, how do you know that? He goes, when you're a pro, you know these things. So it's like, you gotta be really smart as well as a great player. So.
Yeah, and I think that's something that everybody could work on. I think you have to really pay attention. And I think with all the video around nowadays, you could do that. And our guys, you know, what was cool, even from the beginning, I can remember coming in and they would know about the other team. And we spent so much time with preparation and scouting reports and stuff that, you know, you have to have that brain to be able to put it into play. Definitely.
There's all right, so there's a question I always ask all my guests coming on this show. And it's, I like to get their views and their points on it. So what's your views on British basketball, the BBL and WBBL in the country? What things do you think are working and what things do you think they could improve on a bit more?
Yeah, I don't know too much about the WBBL, to be honest with you, because it's like going on during our season. So, yeah, I try to catch a couple games. I usually play the same, same time. But I think the first step for the BBL, obviously, is to continue to get purpose-built facilities for clubs to play in. I think that slowly but surely it's moving forward. I think when you look at it, Worcester, Leicester, Newcastle, I might be missing somebody, I'm not sure. Bristol's got something in the works. So that's very important. You know, when you play in Europe and you play for these club teams there, they have their facility that they could utilize all the time, you know. And I think all players, when I talk to them, you know, on the phone about coming over here, that's a big selling point for us is to say that, we have our facility. You can get in there, and they all want to know, can I get into the facility? And I think the more of those, better. But, you got to get to more media coverage. And what is the media these days? Who knows? But we need a little bit more media coverage. And I think when you look back at the heyday of the BBL, that Sky Sports was covering it. ITV Digital took over for a bit. And, they were able to not only show basketball, but they were able to show personalities. And I think that we need somehow to bring our personalities to the forefront of British sports. And it's a challenge, and I understand that. But I think that, that's what I noticed when I first came over here, is that the players in the league had the talent, but they were well known because of the personalities and the way the media had put them out there. And I think we can do more of that in many ways. You saw with Ovi Soko obviously going on Love Island. I think people were introduced to, a fine young gentleman, and people really liked him and all that. And I think we have plenty of people that play in our sport that could do similar types of things as far as likability and becoming someone in the public eye.
Definitely, I agree in that as well. Definitely a bit more effective marketing. I think more interaction with the players definitely would help, because I feel like if you do that more with the players, you kind of you're making the fans feel like they know the players and they know who they are. So you're making them feel a part of it. And it's about making the players feel special, the coaches feel special, make the fans feel special. So I think that would definitely factor into it.
The other thing is financially, it has to continue to improve. I think that, we have to be able to compete with some of these other teams that are taking away top British players. And I think that, that's always the struggle. You look at the list each year of the player coming out of college, the British player, the British talent, and they end up going other places for the most part, the higher level guys. And, it's frustrating, because you'd love to have all these guys with you, but when you can't match what they're getting offered other places, you talk to a lot of these guys, and I talk to a lot of them that play in other countries. A lot of them come and work out with us when they're home, and they'd love to play here. But until we get the kind of financial support needed to keep them home and to keep them here, you won't be as good as you can be, because those countries that are able to do that certainly have, tremendous leagues.
Definitely, I think that as well. They should try players try and find ways to get players to stay. So get some funding or sport sponsorship. Hopefully, they think of something. You know what I mean? Hopefully, they think of something, because then that will influence the younger generation. Because I spoke to some of them last week on here, and they said, some of them, they don't know much about it because they ain't see much coverage about it or much advertisement about it. But it will give them more to stay there.
And that doesn't mean that there's not a lot of talent around, and a lot of talent in the league, and it's a tough league to play in. I think that sometimes, because maybe, the financial part of it wasn't there, maybe people say, well, it's not that. It's you better be able to hoop if in this league. You can't, you're not just going to show up no matter who you are and just do what you want. So there's a lot of talent. It's tough. And I think there's a good base there, but you need that they've been talking about it for a long time. Obviously, same old story. They need that cash injection to keep the talented stars home that the public can identify with.
Definitely, and like we said again, coverage will definitely help. We need something to keep them home, but hopefully there'll be some people that can help with that. Also, so now it's one of my favorite parts of these talks. I like to go into these things called the hotspot questions.
Ooh.
They're 2 3-part questions. So I'm going to do it as a perspective from a coach.
Okay.
So the first part is a player you love coaching, a player you love coaching against, and a funny player you've coached. Funniest player.
Okay, so a player I love coaching that I've coached before.
Yeah.
Boy, that's a tough one, man. Like, you're putting me in a tough spot here. Wow. Oh, I don't know how I can pick one. There's been so many great ones, and we've had so many here for so long that it's hard. It's hard to pick. But I think Connor and Jamel, because I'll say them, Connor Washington and Jamel Anderson.
Okay, yeah.
because, you know, they came to us at such a young age, you know.
Yeah,
When they came to us, they were still so young in the game, and to have watched them grow and watch them progress and watch them
yeah,
develop as not only basketball players, but as people, you know, really makes you feel good as a coach. It's more than just basketball, you know. So they probably, you know, would stand out because they've been here so long, and I've watched them grow up, and they were kids
yeah,
when they got here. So, you know, and that's what this sport is about for me too, is that the relationships. So
yeah,
I
yeah.
will pick them, but I'll say Drew Sullivan I will pick as
I
the
know
guy
Drew.
that,
Yeah,
yeah, the guy that you want to pencil into your lineup. We had the saying on the bench all the time. We'd be sitting on the bench before the game, and I'd look over to Coach Jerem or I'd look over to Coach Gledel, and I'd say it so many times. It's great to have number 8 tonight. You know, we'd be a little nervous about the game, but we'd watch him warm up and we'd go, yeah, number 8's going to take care of us tonight. We're going to be all right, because he was as special as it gets as a player and as a competitor when the chips were down.
definitely. I like that. I like that. Player you love coaching against.
What does loved coaching against mean? That I respected his game so much, or like, because you don't love the guys that are
Yeah,
killing you, do you?
yeah. It could be any kind of player. Guy that killed you, or a guy that you just knew how to play against
No,
very well.
I'll give you a guy. I'll give you a guy, and obviously the Eagles Riders rivalry was tremendous.
Yeah,
And I think that you know, playing in those games really elevated us, elevated them, elevated the league. We had so many great battles in finals and
yeah.
games. So I'll probably say Charles Smith. Charles
Oh,
Smith.
his name's come up a few times.
Unbelievable player. You know, ripped my insides out many times by just making shot after shot as a player. And then Fab, obviously, with Fab Flanoy. You know, I had known Fab for a long time. I played against him. And,
Yeah,
you know, the intensity in those games and the passion between the two clubs and going head-to-head with a legend like him who was dominating the league at that time was tremendous. And I'll, you know, never forget those games. And I think that there were so many times where you'd be battling all game and you'd be
all right.
you know, talking all game and mounting a game. But when the game ended, there
Yeah,
was healthy
respect.
respect,
Yeah,
and
that's what I mean. Love it.
healthy respect, and we look forward to battling again because we just kept playing in so many big games over the years.
Oh, we've got a comment here. Apparently, you're the #1 referee and manipulator in the B-ball. All love, coach.
Okay, who said that?
NBA Live himself.
Oh, NBA. Is that a compliment?
Yeah.
Uh,
All love, he said. All love.
I disagree with that one, but thanks. I appreciate that. You try to do your best with them, with the referees. You try
Yeah.
to not talk too much. I think it's important. No, seriously. I think
Yeah, I
when
know.
you save it, you save it when you need it. I think the guy that is in their ear all game.
Yeah,
And
yeah, yeah.
there's times where maybe that's happening, but I tried to save it to when you really need it.
So, yeah, the last part of the question was a funny player you've coached.
Funny player you coached. There's been a lot of them. I think I'm going to miss some guys here. I think Zaire Taylor was pretty funny. I think he was a funny guy. I thought he was funny. There were times when he'd come to practice with a suitcase. He'd pull it behind him like he was at the airport, slippers. But just a funny guy, an awesome player. One of my favorites, just watching him play every night. And he was really funny. But I think one of the secrets to having the success that we've had is we like to have fun at practice.
Definitely.
We like to break each other's balls every now and again, which is something that keeps the room loose. And yeah, I encourage that with the guys. So we have some funny times, but yeah.
All right, we've got a next part to the 3-part question. There's the second part of a 3-part question. So this one is going to be interesting. So
Okay.
a player you didn't in particularly like coaching, not to say you didn't like them. You got a player you didn't like coaching against and a funny opponent you coached against.
A player I didn't like coaching. Man, that's a tough one. There hasn't been that many that have stayed around. There's some guys that left early. Are those guys
Don't have to
count?
give no names. Don't have to give no names if you don't. We can keep it.
Yeah, we had a player back in the day here that I'll say this. He was probably the most talented player one of the most talented players we ever had, but
Yeah.
he had a hard time controlling his emotions.
Yeah.
I think people that have followed our program will know who he was. He left early. I think he was averaging 25 plus a game or something. But his emotions were really difficult to deal with at times. And I thought that was a challenge. But, yeah, I mean, most players I've had, I've loved coaching them. What's the next question?
Player you love coaching against? No, you didn't like coaching against. Someone who gave you problems.
Well, I said Smith, no question about it. Oh man, geez, you look back on it and it's been so long. There's so many of them that would torture us at times that were tough. I don't know. Caught me off guard. I did say the Eagles guys.
What about the
before.
MVP? What about two-time MVP?
Oh, Robinson?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I mean, talk about you can put him right in there. You know, it's a really hard guy to stop because he is. He's got guts, number one. So he's ready to take and make the big play all the time, which you know, a lot of players say they will, but they do run away from the ball when it counts. He'll go get it. His ability to shoot off the dribble is so hard to defend. And his ability to stay composed too and stay in the game. Yeah, he's right up there. He's been a phenomenal player in this league and very difficult to defend. So no question about it.
Okay, I found a player for you. And then a funny opponent you love coaching against.
Funny opponent. There's some funny ones. I don't know who. It's fun when you talk with a guy and you kind of have a nice little running conversation with them. I'm trying to think of who was the one that.
I bet a few people said one name. A few people said one name. York's come up a few times as a funny opponent.
Well, yeah. Geez, I forgot about him. York. Wow. Thank you for reminding me. I could sit here and tell York stories all day. Not only was he a teammate of mine on 3 different seasons, I believe, but he was also he played for me as well. So he's funny. Even now, we just played him. He played against us the last game we played.
Yeah.
And he's funny. I know all his tricks, I know it. I know what he's going to do. I know when he's going to try to draw the foul. But a player in this league this year, I think Ramon Fletcher is pretty fun to play against. He's chatty. Pablo, I see my agent, but he reminded me there. He's chatty. He's fun to talk with. He's an awesome player. Good pro in this league, and he's fun because you have good conversations. I have good conversations with him during games.
That's good, man. That's good. I remember that game against your game against Manchester. I was there at that game because I was meant to go and say I was actually going to say, hey, talk to Jesse who plays in your team.
Yeah,
then
Jesse, sure.
Yeah, then I was gonna come over and talk to you, but because of the COVID, no one could interact with the players. That was it.
Yeah, we walked right out.
Yeah, you went out, and it was just like we couldn't do anything. So I was like, so yeah. I remember that game. I do remember Yurik in that game as well. I don't know what he did something with the ref. He said something to the ref, and then I just started laughing. Everyone's like, "What's wrong with him?" I was like, "He's like that. Leave him." That's
him. He had like 12, 14 points in that game too. Which I mean, he's my age. I believe he might be a year younger than him. I'm 47. So he's in mid 40s.
Man,
which is pretty remarkable to still be out there and making plays. And he was doing that night.
He was in his prime. It probably been a different situation, but yeah.
He was. I played with him in his prime. He was fun. It was awesome. He was a great teammate and great friend of mine. When I first got here, not knowing many people, he helped me so much and playing with him. Yeah. But when you look back at the videos of York back in the, he used to wear like eye black underneath the eyes, like the baseball players.
Yeah.
Like I'd never seen that before. I'm like, who is this guy? He's got eye black on the. You use that. You wear that for the sun.
Man.
In baseball. I think that the character that he is was remarkable, and I loved having him when I was coaching because he was able to really do a great job in the locker room with the players. He was awesome. This 2012-13 season when we went 30-3 in the league, he was a main force in that locker room to talk to the guys and help out. You need those veteran guys, and York was phenomenal
Definitely.
at that with me.
Definitely. I like that. I like that. All right, anyone who's still tuned in, anyone got any questions for Rob while we're still on? And Rob, do you have any questions for myself while we're on as well?
Do I have any questions?
You have any questions for myself? Yeah.
No, you're good. You're a good interviewer. You should be doing a really good job. I'm impressed. Where did you get this broadcasting ability? Very good.
All right, it's something I just picked up. You know what it is? It's just because of my because of who I am as a person. When people who know me, Matthew, Brian knows me, and Justin knows me very well. It's just the way I interact with people. I'm just that fun kind of person, and I've kind of thought to myself, why don't I not incorporate that to basketball somehow? And I thought, do a talk show, innit? Like just talk and then interact with people, and I kind of liked it. And there's other ideas I want to do with it. So with this thing now is a platform I've created mainly for basketball players in this country, and that's the aim really. There's other things I want to do as well. So
let's do it. I mean, you ever need me for anything, and let me know, because we need more of it. And this is great.
Definitely, that's what I was coming down to talk to you about before the COVID. So I can message you, and then after this, and I can tell you what I was planning. And
yeah, do that, and come up and see us. So you're welcome to come up and see us.
Definitely, I love it.
Come up and see us.
Definitely come up to Leicester, man. I like that atmosphere there, man. So
yeah,
definitely be great. Definitely be great. And anyone else in there got questions? Rob's a very busy man, the coach of Leicester. Yeah, there we go. How are you keeping yourself and the team focused and sharp during the pandemic days? What exercises are you doing off the court? Love you, cuz.
Okay. Yeah. Well, listen, the season's finished, right? So we're preparing to put the team together for next season. We have some players that are coming back, we know, and the players that are coming back, and the players that are around here have been communicating with Jordan Godfrey, who's our strength and conditioning coach, and players around the world too have been talking with him. So he's a great strength and conditioning coach, leaving it in his hands. He's doing a good job keeping me updated on how guys are feeling. That's been good. What exercise am I doing? I'm chasing after a 4-year-old, and I'm carrying around a 3-month-old. So I'm like carrying them around, doing everything we can to be outside, which up until the last couple of days, it's been pretty nice.
Oh, that's been active chasing that. Oh, I don't miss those chasing toddlers around.
I have to stay in shape just for that. I mean, I'm doing stretch routines in the morning for that, to be ready to go. You got to stay flexible for these kids running around.
So father to father, how is it like being a professional coach and a father? Like how do you manage that so well?
Awesome. I love it. I love them being involved. My son Lucas, who's older now, will be 18 Sunday. Yeah. He shared the journey with me. Lucas and I lived together when I first took over with the Riders, and he was here all the way. So he traveled with me. He came on the bus with me. He sat on the bench with me. That was such a great way to spend time with my son. And now the young one, Ava, she's 4. She comes to all the games with my wife. They come to every game. So it's awesome to have them there. They've been so great supporting. They're always there. So, I've coached games where I didn't really have anybody in the family there for years, and having that now is awesome. It's I just can't wait till my kids get a little bit older, and I don't want to rush it, but when they get a little bit older and, they could be on the court. And you see that around the league too. You see guys with their kids and you bring them out on the court. I see Justin do it all the time.
Teo does it as well.
Teo, it's awesome. And growing up as a kid, my dad was a baseball player. And my dad took me by the time when I was 4, all the way up, I went to every game of his. And I was that kid there. So seeing that and knowing what an impact that had to watch my dad compete, it's an awesome feeling as a dad to bring your family into those situations.
I've seen that. I kind of experienced it not from a perspective of my dad. I'm thinking more of my brother, where I was younger and I was able to get into a lot of things because of him. So I was kind of very fortunate, like the Hosanna tournaments, Rough and Ready tournaments, and I remember people outside going, "Oh, I ain't got a ticket." I'll be like, "Oh, my brother plays there." I'm in. So, and then I remember back then you needed to get a ticket, because if you didn't have a ticket, that's it. You are getting in. So you know.
And your brother was tough. He was a tough player. He can get
Oh
to the basket.
yeah. Mean machine.
He was tough.
Yeah.
I really respected the way he played. He played tough. He got to the basket, and he was a good player. I remember him very well.
Yeah, and a good defender too. I remember.
Good defender. Yeah.
I remember because I had to deal with him in scrimmages, so he was a bit, it's a bit annoying.
Beat you up a little bit.
Oh, and you have to deal with him in scrimmages. Imagine you have to deal with him at scrimmages and then deal with him at home. So it's just like, oh man, but yeah, man, great player, man. And him and Lakin, grew up with both of them, so definitely, man.
Good people too.
Definitely, bro.
Yeah.
Rob, man, been a pleasure, man. Thank you for coming on, man. I loved it every minute of this.
Me too. And yeah, you did a great job. I really enjoyed the questions. And yeah, I look forward to helping you out. Keep it going because the more content, the better. And you're always welcome in Leicester, my man. Let me know.
No worries, man. Yeah, we definitely stay in touch, definitely, Rob, man. And everyone else who tuned in, thanks for tuning in. And Rob's on Instagram at, what's the Instagram name?
I think Rob Paternostro, I believe.
Rob Paternostro, yeah. And I'm Everyting Chris _2020. And yeah, Rob, we'll definitely stay in touch, man.
See you, my man. Thank you.
See you later, man.
Bye.
Everyting Chris. Everyting Chris. Everyting Chris. Everything Chris. Everything Chris. Everything Chris. Everything Chris.
I'm Chris G, host of Everything Chris. Hope you liked that video. If you did, click that like button. Also leave a comment. And also, if you want to see more, click that subscribe button to get a notification when we upload new content every single time. I hope you enjoyed that video and I hope you stay tuned for some more. And also, as you know with me, everything's always Chris.